I'd like to welcome everybody to our CEO Roundtable question and answer forum for tonight, our Zoom meeting. Thank you for taking your time out of your day to be able to attend this meeting. We really appreciate it. We appreciate all of you that are investors, which I'm assuming everybody is. Thank you for investing. Thank you for your trust in our company. And I want to bring everybody up to speed as far as what's going on. Today's discussions will be recorded and may include forward-looking statements such as forecasts about BCM's operations and future results. Please refer to the cautionary statements in the company's filings available on our website or SEDAR, and to the risk factors section on our most recent financial report for additional information concerning risk factors that could cause our actual results to materially differ from those in our forward-looking statements. And with that, I want to give everybody kind of a brief overview of how the meeting is going to be run tonight. I'm going to hand it over to Sergey and Scott. Sergey is our CEO and president, and Scott Steeds is our chairman of the board. They're going to be fielding questions, but that will be after Sergey does a presentation update about where the company is at and what we have been doing, and he has a presentation plan for that. After that, then we will open the floor to pre-submitted questions. We have 11 of those. And then after that, then we're going to open the floor up to open questions. So if you have questions that you would like to ask on the open question format, you can, in the feature of chat, you can chat those to me. And then that way I'll know that, and I'll put you in line. We're not going to have an unlimited number of questions. We'll probably take 5 or so. Just kind of depends upon how time allows. We have established a 1 hour and 45-minute meeting. Sergey and I believe it's going to be about an hour and a half. So depending upon time constraints is how many questions we're going to ask. With that, we want to be respectful of your time. And I'm going to go ahead and hand this over to Sergey, our president and CEO, and Scott Steeds, our chairman of the board. With that, my friend, it's all yours.
Yeah, thank you, Robert. Welcome to everyone who was able to join us this afternoon or evening, whatever your local time is. BCM resources and the work we're doing to deliver a significant discovery in Western Utah and working on Thompson Knolls. So with that, I'd like to put the PowerPoint presentation that we prepared for this event. Give me a second. Okay, Robert, how does it look? Looks good. Okay, you're muted, but yeah.
That looks good. It looks good. Sorry.
Okay. All right. Look, just first of all, Robert mentioned that will be a brief update where we are. As you know, we stopped drilling last summer, and since then, the main reason we ran out of funds, and since then we were trying to raise money for the next phase of drilling. As you know, we have plan of operations approved by BLM, Utah BLM, and DOGM, and we had very ambitious program to deliver. And we, in the meantime, we were doing our internal research, trying to get more focused in our exploration drilling approach. As you know, we initially set up that we will be focusing on the yoke of the porphyry system that was picked up in one of the early drill holes in hole number 1, and then confirmed in several other drill holes, 3, 3A. We confirmed the presence of 2 types of copper mineralization, and copper comes with gold, moly and silver. And that mineralization was both in the quartz monzonite porphyry intrusion and also altered carbonate host rocks, which were to various degrees skarnified and altered to pyroxene skarns and garnet skarns. So as a result of the research work, and as you know, we became a part of the research program called CASERM at Colorado School of Mines, and that is done with in association with Virginia Tech. So basically, CASERM, for those who are not very familiar with what that stands for, the Center for Advancing Advanced Studies of Exploration and Reclamation in Mining. So that's basically a wide range of studies done in the mining industry devoted to various aspects from early stages of exploration to the late stages of mine production closure and reclamation. So in our case, we invited, first of all, our student who works on his master's degree, he came and joined us for the field work last summer. He participated in core logging, and then he made a presentation to his supervisor, Dr. Matthias Burich-Hassel, and he was curious and interested. I invited them just to take a visit to our core shed and take a look at the core, given Matthias's expanded experience of dealing with skarns. And that's what happened in early April. Both Matthias and Chad went to the core shed. They examined the core, and they came to their observation and conclusions. First of all, they noticed some inconsistencies with the core logging in skarn intervals, and their suggestion was in order to do the further study that would involve modeling, 3-dimensional modeling, and more detailed study of mineral associations, including age dating, in order to understand the process of formation of mineralization. They suggested to do core relogging and collect additional samples for their study, which was approved. And in May, June, Chad conducted core relogging and came with additional samples. And then they started working on the model. So their conclusion that the spatial, mineralogical, and geochemical variability they observed in the skarn intervals can be served as a useful vector towards the copper core of the system. And that's exactly what we wanted, because, as you remember all, that Thompson Knoll is a totally blind porphyry system covered by post-mineral cover. So therefore, we are trying to hit the center of the system. It's like hitting the target in a dark room. Our only more or less reliable data that gives us certain directions is geophysical. So based on the new data from the core login, they came to conclusion that skarn alteration today is basically represent the peripheral part of the system. Now they used several drill holes for this purpose, and they looked at mineral assemblages and then also calculated certain ratio. And we know in the porphyry system, many people who are familiar with the porphyry, but those who are not, you look at the various models, and it's a common knowledge that most copper gold porphyry systems, they have copper in the core of the system, whereas the periphery is dominated by base metals, and even farther away from the system, gold mineralization. So therefore, they just looked at the assay results, and they used the copper base metal, both lead and zinc ratio, and they also added their bismuth and moly, and just to enhance the variability of those ratios. Their conclusion that based on numerous aspects, including mineral assemblages, but also calculated ratios, indicate that hydrothermal fluid was coming from somewhere. These the intercepts made in the listed TK8, TK6, and TK5 drill holes, also TK3, TK3A, they're on the periphery of the system, whereas the main porphyry intrusion could be away from this. And you will see in the next figure that to demonstrate and visually prove. So this is TK8 drill hole, this is TK6, TK14, and this is conceptual figure indicating the quartz monzonite porphyry intruding in the carbonate rocks, and the fluids moving away from the porphyry intrusion, forming the fingers. So the current drilling to the Kazerm researchers' conclusion basically picked up mineralization on the periphery. And they took the ratio and they calculated that ratio and came to a conclusion that the porphyry system and the main skarn, which is closer, the closer you get to the porphyry intrusion, the more mineralization it carries. It stays away from the drilled zone. And they indicated that we are away from the copper core, and based on their interpretation, they indicated there could be several directions of the fluid coming in. Although I should emphasize, and they indicated in their report on the study, which everybody can see on our website, we'll put it for viewing there, they indicated several directions, but the most likely direction was coming from southwest. And indeed, if you look at the drill hole intercepts, TK8 delivered the most impressive mineral intercept of more than 500 feet of mineralization. If you calculate copper equivalent, will be closer to 0.9% copper equivalent, but literally 0.66% copper and some presence of gold with silver. Whereas TK6, which is, if you remember, is to the north, the mineralized skarn interval is smaller and has a little bit lower grade. That's basically basically relates to the conclusion that the mineral fluids were coming from the center, and the farther they get from the porphyry intrusion, the weaker mineralization gets. So they plotted the proximal position of the fluid, and based on that indicated the vector in which most likely direction the fluids were coming. As I mentioned, they indicated several directions, but most likely it's southwest, because we in southwest at Thompson Knolls, we have a significant size geophysical anomaly, area 2. If you remember, it's been always known, but we never tested that. And I think with this research, it highlights the importance of this geophysical part of the Thompson Knolls. TK5 is down-dropped block. Therefore, the consequent scenario would be that the skarn and the related porphyry there would be deeper. But if we go laterally to the southwest, we still will be at reasonable depth, but should hit significant size the geophysical anomaly. So this is a part of area 2 here on this figure. I'm just would like to highlight, so here the drill holes TK8 is here, TK6, TK5, 3, 3A, and TK14. And the ratio they calculated, they construed the isolines, and the highest value most likely indicate that the fluids were coming from southwest. That's what I think makes a logical sense. Makes logical sense from the mineralogical studies. It makes sense from the base metal ratios, and it makes sense from the amount of mineralization intercepted. Therefore, based on this, we consider that we need to change drilling priorities at Thompson Knolls. Previously, as you know, we were focused in northern area, anomalous area 1, with most significant magnetic anomaly, and we started checking the eastern flank. But now it's obviously we need to change the direction and focus drilling southwest extension towards the geophysical anomaly 2. And you will see, I'll show you in the next slide, the disposition of the proposed drill holes. The researchers proposed 2 drill holes. We think we the 3 drill holes between, if you remember in the plan of operations, we had TK17 in anomaly area 2. So those 2 drill holes, they will be at spacing distance of close to 1,000 feet, and 2 drill holes, and then including TK17 will be 3 minimum drill holes to test the concept. But if the concept is confirmed by this drilling, then we propose to continue and do the step-out drilling south of TK17 in 5 widely spaced drill holes. And I will jump to the next slide, and we'll come back to the slide to finish, just to give you an illustration so that you could visualize what we are talking about. So just On this map, we show the drilling that has been done in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and also the dark blue. These are the drill holes permitted on the plan of operation. So TK17 I was referring to is located here. TK8 is here, and again, for your orientation, TK6 is here. So the proposed drill holes in between TK8 and TK17 are here, but if all three confirm the concept of skarn mineralization improving in that direction, then the next 5 drill holes will be added at a little bit wider space and distance. I'm just thinking between 1,100 to 1,200 feet apart, which is normal to porphyry systems. And for the size of the target we need a significant tier 1 discovery with substantial resources. So this exploration drilling will test this concept. If successful, will be a big step for the project forward. So the just estimated amount of drilling for these 8 drill holes is 40,000 feet. We anticipate the thickness of the cover will be about 2,000 feet in average. And we are going to reconfigure the drilling we were previously doing. If you remember, our big headache was from our drilling contractor and poor performance from Falcon Drilling. They only counted on several fingers drill holes reached the targeted depth. They failed to deliver us to the targeted depth. Therefore, we propose in this next phase of drilling, which will be called phase 4 drilling, in the amount of 40,000 feet altogether, is to do a combination of RC with the diamond drilling. That will ultimately, if we do that, will speed up our ability to penetrate through the cover very quickly to the bedrock. A diamond drilling rig will be used to advance the drill holes down to the depth, projected depth, 5,000 feet in the bedrock. The amount of drilling we are proposing for phase 4 will require close to $5.5 million. You probably know that we also have outstanding bill invoice from the drilling contractor that was not paid due to lack of money. We ran out of money last summer. Therefore, in order to pay off all those outstanding bills, we need additional 1.2. Altogether, 6.6 million will be sufficient to complete this program. So this is what I wanted to share with you. I think this is very encouraging news. At least we have see the light taking us to the copper core, or famous yoke we have been trying to vector to. Thank you for your attention. And now I think we can go to the Q&A session. Robert.
Perfect. Thank you, Sergey. Can you stop sharing that screen so we can get that off?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
You rock. Okay. If you guys have any questions concerning the information that Sergey just went over, please organize those and send those through the chat feature. And I will open that up after we get the pre-approved questions, pre-submitted questions already answered. So it'll be after that. So with that, we're going to go ahead and start with question 1 from Chase Hornsby. Chase is unable to be here tonight, so we'll let Harry ask that question. Harry?
Sure. Chase. Chase asks, Chase was the first investor to get a question back in, so he's going to get the first question out. Chase asks, you think this is as big an opportunity as other copper finds? And Sergey, you have such a good reputation for finding discoveries. Why aren't investors investing to finish this project right away to get at the copper?
Well, thank you for that question, Chase. To be honest with you, the comparison was made. Did you mention comparison with Bingham Canyon, Harry?
He did.
Yeah. So look, if Thompson Knolls is as big as Bingham Canyon, we wouldn't be talking here discussing exploration. As a matter of fact, we are at the very early stage of exploration. To date, we drilled only 12 drill holes, and 2 of them were twinned. So basically, there is not sufficient geological evidence, and we have just very limited drilling data. And based on my porphyry experience dealing with other significant discoveries, 12 drill holes, that's just scratching the surface of the porphyry system. Porphyry systems are big, they require significant drilling, and we are at the very early stage. But this very early stage already proved and gave us very valuable information indicating that mineralization in the Thompson Knolls system is related to both the quartz monzonite porphyry, the intrusive rock, and the skarn. The current drilling indicates clearly that we intercepted distal porphyry in skarn mineralization, and given that we are in a blind exploration totally under the cover with no indication on the surface for zoning or giving us indication for vectoring towards the copper core, we have to rely on the data, limited data that we have. It's the research conducted by Kazuram is very valuable for us because it gives a glimpse of indication in which direction we should be moving. Yeah, I gave you the mineral intercepts in TK6, TK8. To me, the trend is obvious from north to west towards that anomalous area too. And as just the presentation presented to your attention indicates that we have not reached the richest part of skarn and the porphyry. That means exploration is, it's important to continue exploration, and it's important to continue on the short track towards the copper core of the system. Previously we were with just in regards to the investors, we talked to a few major mining companies. One of them even sent their delegation. They looked at the copper, they were interested, but the terms and conditions they were offering to us were unfavorable to our shareholders because they undermine the value of the project that we believe is. Therefore, those conversations didn't come to a conclusion. And we went back and started talking to other potential investors. And there are still a number of numerous conversations are ongoing. Me and Scott, we had numerous telecons, and we're still willing to explain the potential of the project because, look, for the copper industry in the US, this will be a significant future copper producer. With Bingham Canyon running short of supply and other significant projects experiencing very difficult challenges, this project has a number of favored aspects: position, no hold-up issues, social issues, First Nation issues, water issues. It's only about proving the economic potential, and if we prove the presence of high mineralization in skarn and copper mineralization in the porphyry, we will be on the top of the hill. For example, comparing skarn mineralization we are picking up and in Grasberg, the initial start of that district was from Erzberg skarn. Then they discovered significant size GBT skarn, and their mineralization was certainly higher grade, but our 75 feet in TK8 has average 1.25% copper, which is quite remarkable. That means the system is capable of generating significant amount of metal there. Normally the closer you get to the contact with the porphyry intrusive, the richer the skarn is. For example, in Grasberg, initial average grade was 1.1% copper and 1.1 gram per ton of gold. So that's why made that operation very profitable for Freeport-McMoRan. So all in all, in order to shortcut this lengthy answer, I'd like to emphasize that the conducted research gives us a very good hint for the direction where we need to move, and we need to raise the sufficient amount of funds in order to complete the phase 4 exploration program. Thank you.
Thank you, Sergey. That was very in-depth. I love it. Okay, so we have questions 2, 3, and 3, which are going to be asked by Bob. So Bob, could you do me a favor and ask each individual question and let Sergey answer that, and then just hang on and ask the third one. Bob.
Are you there?
We can hear you now.
All right, good. Thank you, gentlemen. So, the big thing here sounds exciting. It looks like we're a new drilling plan. I love it. We've got a better plan on how to find it. The only thing is we need money. So there's the big question. We've been at it for a year without enough money. So what have you guys been doing to raise money over the last year? And since that hasn't worked, what's our plan going forward that's going to get this done?
Yeah, Scott, feel free to jump in when you think, but I will start addressing Bob's question. Yeah, indeed.
I'll take over, Sergey. Look, it's been a tough market. I don't think I think anybody in this business won't disagree with me. And I've had all sorts of offers from predatory brokers to finance the company. and which would mean massive dilution for shareholders, and most likely an immediate rollback. And I was kept up to date by Quentin and the guys at CSERM as to the work that was going on. And I wasn't prepared to give these wonderful stockbrokers 100 million units at a nickel and their 10% commission and everything like that, only to have them dump out the stock 4 months later and keep a lid on it. And we discussed this. I discussed this constantly with all the directors and the board members. I've worked with a number of shareholders to soak up the stock that's been unloaded on the market over the past year, quite a bit. And they've accumulated millions of shares. 1 or 2 of them is here tonight. And we talk about reaching out to working together to find new investors to partake in the financing at a higher price, similar to the last one that we did a year ago, April, which Robert did. I think if you recall, our stock closed at 12 cents. The next day we announced a 25-cent financing, and which I got some interesting feedback right after the announcement went out. And the next day we closed it, the bulk of it, and we continued drilling. We'll go up to June of last year. I had another financing lined up. We had significant buying coming to the market. Unfortunately, there was some corporate information that was misunderstood by these investors, some filings, and they didn't understand it, and they weren't willing to listen to reason. And they immediately started selling all their stock that they'd accumulated, and they told me never to talk to them again. But that's a business. And as anybody who's in this business can figure out, from about July onward, the entire sector collapsed, from the big miners all the way down to the little junior explorers like us. So we go back to, we've been accumulating lots of stock. It's getting cleaner all the time. And I said, we're working with the shareholders, current shareholders, and our investment bankers to get the stock up to a level where the small shareholders aren't ruined and destroyed, and we get enough money to get drilling and drill into the heart of this thing. I'll just emphasize on something Sergey was going on about with the with his little spiel there. And as he said, we were drilling blind. We had no bedrock to guide us, and we were drilling here, there, and everywhere. Now, what this CSERM work does for us, it's going to save shareholders a lot of money and a lot of dilution. Okay, we now have a clear roadmap where to drill.
Yeah.
And we want to ensure that the drilling is done properly this time. We've been talking, Sergey does all the talking, but I'm informed of everything. There's a lot of drills available, and that's a pretty good sign of what's going on in this sector. From big drillers down to small drillers, they're phoning Sergey up every other week saying, "Hey, you got any money yet? I really need to get my drills working and keep my drillers paid."
Yeah.
And some of them are sitting there and offering a bit of cut and rate. Okay, but it's pretty key that we complete these holes on time, or in a timely fashion, not lose them. I guess what I'm trying to say, we don't want to lose them like we were. The plan is to get a reverse circulation drill rig, where we will drill through the fanglomerate cover into the bedrock. That'll save us a lot of time, using the diamond drill rig with a tri-cone bit. I think it took what, Sergey, 3-4 weeks sometimes in the really thick cover.
Yeah.
We can get reverse circ blasting down to the bedrock in a matter of days, less than a week. And
Yeah.
we remove the reverse circulation drill rig, and we go in with the diamond drill rig. One of the reasons we're losing so many holes is the diamond drill rig going through the fanglomerate. It was causing a lot of damage, and the casing wasn't quite as solid as it should have been. It was angular, and as we got deeper and we started hitting faults when we were in the bedrock, that caused more problems. And we lost pretty well. Well, we lost every hole except one. Well, even number 6 we lost, but we were down to the target depth that we wanted to keep
Yeah.
going.
Yeah.
And that's not quite true. I think there was one of the holes we decided to kill because it was tombstone rock. But so we're back to the question. We're working very hard with our bankers and the shareholders to bring in funding that's not going to dilute and destroy the small shareholders' equity positions, which is key. We want everybody to make money off this. It's been a hard market. A lot of people have suffered in every stock, not just ours. And we care very much about the shareholders. Everybody knows we put most of the money we raise into the ground. We don't waste it on a lot of stuff. And, I think the only person who gets getting a regular paycheck was Sergey. And I don't think it equaled the expense accounts he had when he was at the big companies. So you really can't call that a paycheck. We've all got stock and options, and we want to make the company work. But like I said, we've got a roadmap now where to go and where to drill. That area 2 on the map, if it's that could be very gigantic. If this theory works, and we're confident it will, that could be multi-billions of tonnes there.
Yeah. More than 90%, Scott, more than 90% of the money goes in the ground. Basically, it's all drilling, geophysics, whatever, and assays. So everything is directly invested into increasing the value of the project. I think Luke indicated, Luke indicated he wanted to add something.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he did. Hang on, Luke. We're gonna wait until after we get done with these questions,
Okay.
and then we'll open that up for the floor thing. It's just how it works.
Okay.
Sorry,
Okay.
Luke,
Okay.
you're just gonna have to hang on. Bob, go ahead and move on to your question 3, your third question.
Yeah, that one's pretty much answered. There was just how much do we need now based on our current report? What are we looking at? And the 6.6 million is
Correct.
obviously the target. So that's fine.
Yeah.
Good to know.
Okay, perfect. I thought maybe that did answer your question, but I wanted to have you at least have the opportunity to ask if you wanted to. Thank you, Bob. Okay, so for question number 4 and 5 will be Sean. Sean, I just asked you to unmute, did you?
Yes, I did. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Go ahead.
Perfect. Given the new 3D model, from Sergey's perspective, how much more likely are we to hit a strong hole compared to when we didn't have this information? Just kind of like yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for asking that question, Sean. Well, strictly speaking, the research results presented to us, they were done in space, but strictly speaking, it's not 3D model, because 3D model involves all geology, distribution of mineralization, and sometime once we hit copper core, we will be producing 3D model for resource reserve calculation. But the research conducted is a good roadmap to vector from the distal skarn to the proximal and to the yoke of the porphyry system. So that would be my answer to your first part of the question. And you have question 5, right?
Yes, I think we answered this one, but so will management try to raise a lot more money for the next round, or look for a smaller raise to do, say, 2 to 3 holes? And based on the 5.5 million you're looking for, I'm guessing that's probably close to about 3 to 4 holes, I'm guessing. But
From my perspective, I think it's certainly beneficial. We have to take what the shareholders consider reasonable to support financial this program. But in my view, it's important to get funds for 8 drilling program, 8 drill hole drilling programs, so that it's critically important for the drilling contracts, for the conversation with the drillers. So we need to ensure that we have sufficient funds to complete this full program. So that's why I'm totally in favor of 8 drill holes. But as I said, we will start testing the concept with the first 3 drill holes closer to TK8. And if it is confirmed, it's the game on, we will be right in a big wave.
thank you.
Thank you, Sean. Questions 6, 7, 8, and 9 are from Dave. Dave, if you could just ask them individually, that would be great. And you're unmuted, so you got the floor.
Okay, hopefully I come in loud and clear. And I think you might have partially answered a couple of these, but I'll ask them anyhow. When I read the Colorado School of Mines report, it is suggested that the drilling depth will increase as you go southwest, and yet that looks to be the most promising target. Does the increase in depth make it prohibitively expensive for drilling and ultimately for mining?
I would certainly agree to the portion that the deeper drill holes are more expensive. That is true. That they are prohibitively expensive, no. Look, and particularly taking the new approach with the RC drilling compared to the rotation drilling we were doing before. In terms of the pricing, it's 3-4 times, sometimes even 5 times cheaper for RC and much faster. So as for the mining, we are looking at the depths of the porphyry system below 2,000 feet, probably because the bedrock will be upper part slightly oxidized. Probably we're talking about 2,500 feet, the top of the most mineralized part of the ore body, and going down to definitely 2,500 feet below that level. So in order to make a tier 1 ore body, so these are the depths for block caving, not open pit. Open pit will have significant stripping ratio. I'm just thinking that with the Grasberg grades, it's easy to make an economic ore body for block caving operation. So yeah, once we geologically deliver the mineralization close to 1% copper equivalent in the amounts of 1 billion tons, so that will make a very nice block caving underground mine operation with good profitability.
I think, if I'm not mistaken, Resolution Copper starts around 5,000-6,000 feet, the ore body.
1 mile deep. 1 mile deep, Scott. It's 1 mile deep.
And to date, BHP and Rio Tinto have sunk about $8 billion into it. And they're still putting money in, so. Starting at 2,500 feet, it's not that deep.
Mm-hmm. And Dave, for your other part of the question about the targeted depth, mentioned several times, but I'd like to emphasize again that Yes, this time, previously we targeted the depth was 4,000. Now we are targeting 5,000. Again, it was discussed with the drilling contractors. It's doable. They promised to deliver.
Oh, perfect.
Okay, thank you.
All right, Dave, you can go to your next question. That'd be perfect.
Yeah, the next one will be number 8, I guess, then. Will you need to amend the plan of operation if you drill further west? And if so, how long do you think that will take to obtain?
Yeah, good point. We have, and I previously mentioned, we have good relationship with Utah BLM and Department of Gas and Minerals, DOGM, who are the main bodies for permitting and adjusting the plan of operation. I think it will be, once we get the funds, we can do it in a matter of a month or so, just to get the proposed adjustment to the plan of operations with these 8 drill hole plans with new locations, and there will be certainly new roads, and the bonus paid to DOGM. All in all, once we get the green light to go ahead with the money in the treasury, then it will take us probably a month and a half to get their green light to get this approved. So once we are preparing to start the drilling, we will be doing a number of things in parallel, and if we raise sufficient funds program sometime by the end of August, we have a good chance to start drilling in October.
Well, look, Sergey, too, we could get those 2 holes between 17 and 18, or 17 and hole 8. We could get those scouted and approved within a couple of weeks, and you can go on to the other 5 below after.
No, that's right. No, I think we will be doing one step at a time. However, it's important to keep in mind that the RC drilling rig is very fast. It will be taking 2,000 feet depth in about a matter of week or week and a half. So that means, and the diamond drilling will take more time just to get. So in order to get, so the RC will be doing preps drill holes ahead of the diamond drilling rig. You see, a diamond drilling rig will be catching up behind. Ideally, if we have sufficient money, just would be good in this program to put a second diamond drilling rig that will increase the speed the speed of drilling in the bedrock. But yeah, with one RC drilling rig and one diamond drilling rig, we need a little bit the forward permits ahead of us. And given that realistic picture for the execution of this drilling program, I think, yeah, we can do it in about a month's time easily, maybe shorter, way shorter.
Thank you. My last question, will results from the future drill holes be shared with the Colorado School of Mines so they can enter the data into their model? And I guess overall, will the partnership continue?
Yes, the answer is yes to this question. Good question. Well, we are a part of the CASERM program. We continue our participation. I'm planning to go to their annual session in Golden, Colorado in September. And yes, they will continue being a part of the future data processing obtained from new drill holes. We think it will be mutually beneficial for us.
Perfect.
Thank you for taking my questions.
Thank you, Dave, for the questions. They were really good.
Thank you.
All right, so question number 10 is with Jim Dickens. Jim, you're unmuted. Go ahead.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you
We
fine.
can, James.
Greetings, everybody. It's been over we've kind of touched on a little bit of this tonight, but it's been over a year since we last heard from the company with any news. I believe the biggest challenge for us, kind of covered earlier, was the lack of money. What exactly is the management team doing about this? And could you remind us how much you're trying to raise?
Thank you, Jim.
Okay, yeah, thank you. We put in the slide presentation, put the number, ideally we need $6.6 million to advance this program, drilling program number 4. So that will be ideally, so that will give us an opportunity to deliver all 8 drill holes, fully test the concept, and of that Kazerm group, research group was proposing. And if that concept is proved by Mother Geology is always right, then we will have a much more significant program proposed. We probably will have to review the plan of operations and request even more drilling, because if the copper core is really within the area too, that will be a significant game on.
Okay. The only part of the question was that he asked, it was a little, and he's muted again. He muted himself, but where he says, what exactly is management team doing about this?
Okay, well, we've already gone through that. We're working with present
Yeah.
shareholders, our investment bankers, approaching. We're going to go with this full speed ahead, with this new report and work on it. And summer's ending, people are getting back to work. And we're just going to, that's how we're going to do it, Doc. Like we always do. Get on the
Thank
phone
you.
now for dollars.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Scott. Okay, so the last question, and then we'll open the floor. And I know we have some people that message. We have Luke, we have Lucas, we have Jay. We're going to go ahead and let you guys answer your questions after the last question. Last question is from Darren Sissom, and I'm going to let Harry, our fellow director with the board, go and ask those questions for Sergey.
Darren's question is regarding drill hole depths. From the press release, it appears that only one of the 5 holes reached targeted depth. Could you provide more detail on why the other drill holes did not meet their objectives? Was this due to budget constraints, issues with the drilling contractor, or problems with the technology used? And what measures are being considered to ensure the future drilling operations proceed more smoothly? Does that require additional capital, or will there be changes in the drilling methods or contractors? So, set of questions.
Thank you, Harry, for reading that question. Look, we realize that the overwhelming majority of the drill holes that Falcon Drilling was delivering to us failed to reach the targeted depths. And the main reason, Scott already referred to several times and previously, but I will repeat again. The problem is that they were using rotary drilling to get through the cover, through conglomerate. And because the conglomerate composition is not really unique or uniform. It varies. There are some boulders. So basic conglomerate, it's the product of destruction of limestones in the nearby confusion range that filled that valley, which is about 25 miles wide, between the confusion range and the Great Basin National Park. So the the formation of that rock, and there were some temporary streams, also lacustrine or lake sediments with the sands. And because it was happening since the formation of the deposit for about 150 million years. So there's the lower parts were more consolidated, the upper parts less consolidated. Getting through this ununiformed type of rocks takes a big toll on the drilling rig, and particularly the technology that Falcon drilling, it's old technology by using rotary drilling. It took a big mechanical pressure on the drilling rig. And while going through the cover, they lost their drill head several times. They had to put on a standby to get new replacement. And then once they get through the bedrock, they were going through, once they get through the cover, they were getting in a bedrock. And bedrock is still not uniform because we have faults, fault zones. Faults are the biggest challenge for drillers because faults can have some clay, but then getting through the faults is a big challenge. Once they get there, I think, again, they were, because of the mechanical problems for the drilling rig, as they were using the same drilling rig for everything. So that was a challenge for him. With the new approach, we are saying, no, we're not going to continue doing the same thing. We totally redesigned that by combining reverse circulation with the diamond drilling rig. And that should improve. First of all, it will be much faster. RC goes very quickly through the cover. As I mentioned, the speed will be much faster. And the efficiency of and the cost will be much cheaper because it goes very fast. And then it will allow the diamond drilling rig, without being weakened by the problems in the cover, just to focus on the bedrock. There will be still faults. Unfortunately, that's unavoidable. That's the mother nature. That's the geology. They will be dealing with those, but at least for the drilling equipment, they will be dealing each with their own problems, and they will be tuned to tackle their issues in a more efficient way. That would be my answer to this question. So I think we're changing the layout for the drilling approach, and this layout will help us to ensure that we're getting to the targeted depth.
Perfect. Thank you, Sergey. I think that was a very good answer. All right, so we're going to open the floor to open questions, and we'll start with Luke. He asked the first question at the beginning. So Luke, if you want to go ahead and unmute yourself, there you go. It's all you, buddy.
Hi, guys. Sergey, how are you, my friend? So welcome to the party.
Luke.
From being a geologist to now dealing with public markets and one of the best geologists in the world. And now we're in a blackout period for raising money. I want to provide some feedback because as I listen to the questions on the call, I can tell you almost without a doubt now what your challenge is. So I'm one of those large shareholders that Scott mentioned has been actively involved in accumulating stock and frankly helping you guys in every way. So I have a lot of respect for Bob, Sean, and Dave's questions because it represents what I hear when I talk to a lot of professionals and I expose the name. And what I'm going to share is my feedback is I think we have a perception problem. And the perception, and this is not a reflection of anyone at BCM, it's an opportunity for us to begin to attract the right shareholders. So you guys almost have the job of being president of the United States where half of the shareholders hate you and half of the shareholders love you. For example, every time that you've heard tonight, when are you guys going to raise money or when are you going to get moving and stop doing things? You are getting a phone call from me saying, under no circumstances do I want you to raise any money right now. at these terms. Please do not raise money. Please be patient. And what I would applaud the company with for the last 2 years is you've done a wonderful job managing capital. I have investments in properties in Arizona, for example, that decided to continue to throw caution to wind and go for it. And they're diluting the hell out of my ownership right now. And I look around in the discovery market and I don't see discoveries happening where the Wall Street is valuing them for their proper worth. So to put more money in the ground in an environment like that, where you're not going to see the rewards, seems counterintuitive. However, here's where our perception problem is. Sergey, I think you actually have an advantage that very few discovery companies have. You effectively, in less than 12 holes, have found the sweetener or the sweetest part of these very large systems. So what I would suggest, if you guys are open to it, is instead of going for 8 holes, start smaller with the 2 that are next to your current location. Prove the thesis that the fluids are moving in that direction. Prove that it. So when I asked you guys questions privately on our last chat, I asked you, there's multiple intervals in these large skarns that we found. Is it all the same mineralization from the same time period? And the answer I got back was yes. Yeah. So what that tells me is we've already got data before we have 12 complete holes. Most of these holes would even complete. And we've already got data that we're dealing with something the scope or size of Bingham or Grasberg, and just the skarn finger out way distally. So I want you to think of your shareholders the same way you think of a skarn. You've got shareholders out there that want lead and zinc and they want to look at the edge and they're willing to come in then. And then there's others that won't come in until they start seeing that copper gold ratio increase. And then there's others, which I call the big sharks, just want to wait till you stick a lance through the copper heart core, and then they come and they want to get predatory. So what we need to do as a company is we need to lay out exactly where we are and why we're not raising that money, and that we're going to be very selective in the money we raise going forward, so that we begin to. I love that Bob and Sean and Dave, my fellow shareholders, are asking these kind of questions, because when we can begin to answer these kind of questions succinctly, and our public communications express this, I'm confident that you will start to attract a lot more aggressive, like myself, loyal shareholders who buy and do not transact again in the stock. I do not sell any single share I buy. I don't trade it. Every share I own, I will own until I watch you on the mountaintop, Sergey, in 5 years, or whatever it takes until we find this thing. But we have to absolutely, in my opinion, go out in the marketplace and attract that kind of shareholder. And so when I hear that you, and I watch how disciplined you've been, and then I hear 6.6 million, I know what the professionals are going to say. Oh, we got to pay $1 million back for loans. They don't understand that Falcon was frankly not up to the job, and we had old equipment, and we're here where we are. So we have to we don't want to get punished twice for our past sins, per se, with the trust we placed in vendors that didn't execute. We've cut our bait there, and we need to make sure that, I think, we raise capital prudently and actually prove the thesis piece by piece, because then we may be looking at a market where it's starting to reflect more these discoveries value. And I want to align when we're putting capital into the ground and diluting with when the market looks better. So I want the rest of your shareholders to understand that part of the reason you guys have the answers you do is because there's an exact opposite side contingent like myself that's begging you not to raise money. And I think it's just important for all of us that we're having this conversation openly and transparently, and we figured out a plan for how to get the right investors on board. Because in my discovery portfolio, in our odds model, less than 12 holes, you at the helm, Octavio there, Rick there, this team, this asset, this level of data already going in our favor scores better than any other position I have. So it is my number 1 position. So we've got to figure out how to attract other like-minded investors that are willing to look past what's happened in the past, the market dynamic, and they see that you guys have a business plan that if we don't have it go our way, what's going to happen next? Like I think that most people would be very concerned that this 6 million is just going to get spent doing those 8 holes. And I haven't watched you guys do that once. So I just think there's a gap here between what we're communicating and what people are understanding. And it's our opportunity to fix that. And I'm going to stop there because I want to solicit your feedback. Are you open to doing what was suggested in the chat and what Scott suggested, which is maybe we just do these 2 holes, get enough data back, and then look for a bigger raise after that when we know we're still in the skarn, demonstrating the sweetener and we have economic grades, but because candidly, I'm not even sure we need a porphyry here if we have enough skarn. There, we may have an asset, an economic asset in itself, and just the skarn if we're dealing with the scope that I'm understanding of the tonnage size. So, Sergey, I was just wondering if you would take a moment and comment on my view as a shareholder and any thoughts you have as CEO.
Yeah. Thank you, Luke, for your comments. Look, I fully understand the logic about starting with smaller drilling program just to prove the concept. But as I previously mentioned, in order to get the new configuration of drilling, we do need to get the drillers, and that means normally drillers do not come for 1 to drill holes. They need a drilling program offered to them. The second thing, mentioned the discipline in the company. Yes, I fully agree with you. That's critically important. I work for the major companies, and the critical thing is just making sure that the very scarcely available funds entirely go in the ground and directed to the testing of the concept and proving the exploration concept that is there. It's critically important for any project, and particularly for run by the junior company. The copper porphyry is a big challenge for junior companies because comparatively gold program to porphyry program, the drilling certainly is totally different because the amount of drilling to test the porphyry requires quite a bit of drilling to be done and money to be invested. But also the price value down the road is also significantly larger. So if we are successful in this program and we deliver the significant mineralization, actually would be better both in skarn and porphyry. And the reason why I'm saying so, look, because most of the porphyries you look around the world, particularly those in the Circum-Pacific, in Indonesia, for example, Papua New Guinea, those are, the like Octedi, the skarn, Grasberg skarns, they're significant sweeteners, but really why Grasberg is just because of the porphyry. The porphyry, it's a significant tonnage. The skarn, it's a good sweetener. If we prove the potential for both, that will be a winning formula. The majors will start licking their dry lips to get control of this project because that undoubtedly will have a significant value proposition down the road.
I have a question to add to all those points that Luke brought out. Very, very good, very powerful. Is there a challenge pertaining to Luke's statement? And I know this, I kind of think I know the answer to this already because Sergey, you and I talk all the time. We need enough money raised to be able to bring in that new drill company to guarantee how many holes that how many feet they're gonna drill. So I think that is the underlying thing that most people don't understand, is that to get in one of the world-class drillers, do we not have to have a guaranteed amount of feet for them to drill to?
Yes, yeah, indeed. For basically and currently I had a chance to discuss possibility with both leading drilling contractors, National and Portland Year. These are reputable drilling companies, and they have good performance. But even smaller size drilling companies, they always look for amount of drilling because they have a portfolio of various It's good on the market right now. Not a lot of activities taking place. That's why their portfolio is kind of semi-dry, and that's why they're knocking on the door, on our door, and asking, when are you going to start drilling? And they will be certainly amenable to discussing, okay, we have a smaller than your bottom line, because every drilling company, their bottom line is the minimum drilling program. And basically, the major drillers, they start talking with about 20,000 feet. If you don't offer 20,000 feet as a minimum program, they say, oh, yeah, we will take it somewhere. So
Right.
I need to have a leverage in the conversation with the drillers. We may have a little bit less than that, but if we are talking about at least minimum 3, that's 15,000 feet we're offering. And again, we might get some solution with that, but I'm just highlighting the challenge that we have with the decent drillers to get. I don't want to go to another circle with the mediocre drilling company just to continue struggling with the problem. I'd like to make a quality step in the efficacy of our drilling activity.
Perfect. All right, thank you. So the next person in line is Spencer. Spencer, are you able to unmute yourself? Or do you just want Sergey to answer the question from I can ask it. I guess he's not there. Okay, so Spencer asked, why did the company run out of money last summer? Why was this not avoided? That should be a pretty simple answer.
I think I've already answered that earlier, Robert.
Yeah, you did.
Yep, I think we did too. All right, so the next question will be for Jay. Jay, can you unmute yourself?
I can. Thank you.
There you go.
Appreciate
You have the floor,
the
my friend.
opportunity. Thank you. Appreciate the conversation here. I might be what Luke would call a distal scarn. Been here for a while, not looking to sell, very excited about the company. Specifically, you've already noted some analogies around Grasberg Mine and potential size. If there's anything else you want to share on that, that would be cool and great. One thing we haven't talked about tonight is, what does the new interpretation mean for the DK portion of the property? I understand we're heading west here or southwest, but just curious relative to the presentation you did last September. Thank you.
Thank you, Jay. Yeah, basically, last year presentation was TK8 was the highlight of that, picking up significant intercept in the skarn mineralization and with very encouraging grades. Now with this concept, we were still kind of in the darkness as to where to move from here. Most likely because if you take previous information, we had TK3, 3A with mineralization both in skarn and the porphyry, and then moving west. And given the orientation of the magnetic anomaly 1, everything was pointing to the west. But that was a limit of magnetic anomaly, so TK5 was drilled in that stretch. I believe the mineralization still continues, but obviously based on the drilling information, those blocks are down-dropped, and if the mineralization continues there, will be deeper. So now with the new orientation to southwest, which we haven't tested yet, and if it proves that magnetic anomaly in the area 2, and it has very significant size, it's actually several miles in strike length. So that means if we prove there is mineralization, we have a chance for multiple billion tons new concept of this study and the value of this. But we do need to take it to the test. And the mother geology is always right. And if we correct in our assumptions, we will be rewarded with new significant intercepts, better grades, and normally the copper mineralization closer to the porphyry intrusion gets the new quality minerals, bornite start appearing, popping up in the mineral assemblage, replacing copper. And as you know, bornite has twice as much copper if you have per volume of ton of the same amount of sulfides. So that means the grades will jump 2 times higher than we have with chalcopyrite. So that means, and normally besides copper, bornite brings gold. So gold should also increase 4 or 5-fold compared to what we had, 0.12. So that means half a gram of the gold. If we have the ore body about 1% copper with half a gram per ton of gold, that will be a significant winner.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you for the question. It was a great question. Okay, so Brent has the next question. Brent.
Hi, thanks, Robert. I had a bunch of questions, but Sergey, I need you to drill. I think we all need you to drill, and I think we need more information. And I think we should just take a baby step approach. If the market isn't open to raising 6 million or more, let's just raise enough. I understand the trade-off between getting the right driller and not, but more data is better for us, I think. More holes are better, and we need to advance the project. It's a good time to, the upside is drillers should be more receptive to negotiating and giving us far better terms. Still, it's difficult to raise money. I get that, but I think job one is to raise money and get Sergey drilling again. My comments and on the side there speak to the rest of it. So I don't really have a question.
Okay. All right.
Well,
thank you,
good
Brent.
comment. I actually fully support your comment, Brent. Well said.
Okay, so Lucas had a question or statement. I think it kind of runs in conjunction with Luke, but go ahead, Lucas. You gotta unmute yourself, Lucas. So basically what Lucas said is, considering the poor market as indicated by Scott, would it be prudent to consider raising for just 3 holes first to test the concept?
Hello?
Oh, there you are, Lucas. Go ahead.
Hey, sorry about that.
Okay.
Yeah, that question was answered by in Luke's comment there. No worries there. I understand that it's Sergey wants the full amount, and I get that, just to get the terms and whatnot. I was just curious though, to build on that, is it possible still to talk to a driller and tell them, yes, we still want to do 40,000 feet. We have this much money now, and once you're done that, we're going to raise again. Or is it just something like they need a minimum amount down, and they need a promise of this amount in this amount of time, or how does that work exactly?
Well, I'm going to interrupt here for a minute, much to Sergey's chagrin. Brent had a very good comment, and as Sergey very well knows, the drillers are very desperate for business right now. They're calling them all the time. They're not working. Now, if anybody is into cars, collects cars like I have in the past, if you leave a car sitting around for without starting it up and driving it for any length of time, a year or 2 years, you basically have to go and spend a lot of money on that car to make it drivable again. As we know, that's the same thing with heavy equipment and drill rigs. And obviously the drill crews will move on somewhere else, maybe to oil and gas or something like that. So Brent made a comment, said something here in the comments, and I think he said it on the aloud to everybody that you know, the drillers really can't dictate terms right now because of the bad markets. And I'll mute myself now.
And I'd like to add to that, of course, yeah, basically, we need just to resume the conversation, but I think, and Luke was eloquently emphasizing the first step, we need just to raise some minimum amount, and once we do that, I will be certainly taking all my best, put in all my some MBA training to negotiate and convince. I think Scott is right, taking into account the current situation in the industry. They will be more amenable, but that's a part of negotiation with them. Yeah, I don't exclude that possibility, but what I commented before, it was based on the practical experience of my conversation with them. But I'm willing to take another look with the more realistic approach from us. But it's critical for you shareholders to give us a support by investing in the company and giving some funds for the program so that we could get those drilling contracts in place.
Perfect. Thank you, Sergey. So Dugan had a question. Dugan, you can unmute yourself.
Sure. Yeah. Thanks, guys. This has been a really informative conversation here. So, you know, I get the point that the drillers want to contract on a real program, but there's some flexibility given, you know, the market has been dry for a little while, but things are starting to heat up. So to secure a top tier driller who can operate these two different rigs in the different conditions and deliver the holes that you need, you know, what would be a minimum, you know, first tranche to close to pay off the outstanding debt and engage the drillers, and then, you know, how much time when you need to close the second tranche to round out that 6.6 raise, and then what's the total, you know, life of that 6.6, the total project lifespan?
Yeah, thanks, Dugan, for that question. I time-wise, so basically my understanding, you're acquiring the money and putting that in the time space, how much money, if we do half of that, how much it will last, and then the other half, how much and for how long we can continue in time length to do all 6.6. First of all, as I mentioned, we have the debts to pay that will be done. In terms of the drilling program, our estimate at this point will cost us $5.5 million. I would say if we manage to negotiate 15,000, that's basically 5,000 deep drill holes, that 15,000 will be tough negotiation, but I still think possibility for the current situation. So that to do that little program will take time-wise will take us probably about 3 months to complete. So that means, yeah, once we start drilling in 3 months, we need another portion in order to continue.
Thank you, Sergey. All right, and the next one on here was on the questions with Sean. Sean, you have the floor.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
We can hear you.
Yep.
Robert, Sergey, Scott, thanks for your time. It's great to hear that there's been some great progress made on figuring out for this next round. What I was just curious about for the new program, RC and diamond drilling, is it pretty much guaranteed that we'll hit depth on each hole with using this method, or would it be more like 80%, 90%? I mean, I think it's pretty big to hear that we can hit depth, because the question for a while has been just getting to depth. But if we can absolutely get to depth on each hole, I think that's a huge step forward, or just something to communicate to the general market. Sergey, can you quantify using RC and diamond drilling that it's like 80%, 90%, or it's like it's guaranteed to hit depth on each hole?
Yes, thanks, Sean, for that question. For depth feet in the cover for RC, chances to get through that. The critical thing, it's always the bummer for RC is water, groundwater. If for drilling we did in the 12 drill holes so far, we haven't encountered aquifer. It's a very, very dry situation there. So if that is the case in the area too, and we do not have perching aquifer, so then RC will be doing like this through the 2,000 feet. Now the bedrock for the diamond drilling rig, and as I mentioned, realistically, there are still fault zones, and to get through the fault zones, it will be challenged. No matter how professional and how good the drilling rigs are, still will be technically a challenge. I would say for the diamond drilling, but very experienced driller, they have the gut feeling, and particularly the drilling master, because they kind of feel the rock with their hands. Because you put more torque, more pressure, and if you're too high pressure, you can quickly break or curve the string of drilling rods, which could create the problems. It basically boils down to the experience. If we have the experienced drillers there in the diamond drilling rig, I would say probably more than 70% chances they will be able to get through. But again, it's Mother Nature. I leave 1/4 for unforeseen circumstances with the tectonics.
Okay, no, that helps. Appreciate it. I think it goes a long way to when we're raising money to be like, okay, we could actually, it's just a big step forward with even if it takes more time to find the right experienced driller, as you're saying. For me, it's worth it.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that's the last question that everybody posted. So I want to thank you, Sergey, for taking your evening and communicating with the shareholders, and Scott, I want to thank you as well for spending time in your evening. I know it's late for everybody. And Harry, thank you for being here and helping out with the questions. I want to thank all of you that attended for taking your time, valuable time. We know it's valuable. We want to appreciate you spending your time, and great questions, by the way. All the questions everybody submitted and the ones that everybody asked today are great. Great. So if anybody would like a copy of the PowerPoint, the PDF of the PowerPoint that Sergey shared, go ahead and email me and I will respond back with that PowerPoint so you have it. We are planning on taking this Zoom meeting, which has been recorded. As I said at the beginning, we're going to take it and we're going to put it up on the website. You're going to have to give us a couple days because we have to condense it and edit out some of the beginning and some of the end. But then we're going to upload it. So you'll be able to go back and you'll be able to look at it and also share it with your friends. So with that, thank you again, Sergey. Thank you, Scott. Thank you, Harry. And thank you, everybody that was on the meeting. And if anybody has any questions that we didn't get to, email me those questions and I will see that they get to Sergey and Scott, and you will get answered via email. So your questions are very important, and I want to make sure we didn't miss anybody. And a lot of people will think about this and sleep on it, and they'll think of a question tomorrow. Just go ahead and email it to me. Everybody has my email address. So go ahead and send that off, and I'll reply very quickly. And I will forward it on to Sergey.
That's a good point, Robert. You highlighted because people can continue thinking there might be additional queries or questions that arise as a result of that thinking process. So yeah, feel free just to send them through Robert. But on behalf of the board with the Scott as chairman, I'd like to thank everybody for the opportunity to speak with you and share our thinking for Thompson Knolls and BCM Resources. What is the future? We appreciate your time. And it's always a teamwork together as a board with the shareholders. If we work as a team, on very challenging tasks will be possible to tackle. So I'm for the teamwork together with shareholders. We always are willing to listen your voices and your advice and suggestions. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, everybody. And remember, just if people on here do not have my email address, it's my name, Robert, at bcmresources.com. Very, very simple. If you request anything, just go ahead and send it to me. And like I said, I'll get it over to Scott, get it over to Sergey. And if it's the PowerPoint that you want, I'll just email that back out to you so you'll have it for your own use. So with that, we're going to go into the meeting. Thank you again, Scott, and thank you, Sergey. And you guys have a great evening. And if you need any help or any advice, don't hesitate to reach out. We're always available.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you, everybody. Good night.
Yeah, thank you.